Awesome. Can you see? Does that look good? Okay, perfect. Okay, well, welcome to the Metabolic Mindset Shift, where I'm going to be teaching you 4 kick-butt strategies to repair your metabolism and take back your control over food. I'm Micaiah, your registered dietitian, and I'm super excited to be talking with you today about this topic because it's really important in improving your food relationship overall. If you haven't downloaded your workbook, um, make sure to do that. It will be just nice to follow along and be able to fill in the blanks that go along with the slides. If you need me to, I can drop it in the chat, the PDF. Do you need me to do that?
No, I printed
Okay.
it.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, just be following along and let's go. So today you'll discover the power of fueling your metabolism properly, and I'm going to show you how to move away from struggling to know what to eat and move you towards expanding your nutritional knowledge and growing your food confidence effortlessly. I will be with you every step of the way. This is a reminder to turn off all your distractions like notifications on your phone, or if you're like me, I always have 20 tabs up on my computer. So close those, go in a different room if you need to, whatever you need to do, just to set aside this time for you, an investment into your health and you. It's going to be so much more worth it if you have undivided attention. This is also an interactive workshop, so please feel free to either jump in the chat or like yell at me as I'm talking. I love to hear feedback. It's way more fun, to not just have me talking the whole time. So feel free to make this a conversation and don't be shy. Also, if you find a slide that is super interesting, screenshot it and share it with your friends, so that they can see that you're learning all this cool stuff. Community definitely makes you stronger, and it's really fun to be able to share something that you had posted from the workshop. In case you forgot, or maybe you didn't see, you will be receiving a go-to groceries list for showing up live today. It contains endless ideas for which foods to put on your list for your next grocery trip. It also helps you determine how to create a balanced plate, and it has different foods categorized into different macronutrient groups. And there's a good snack list on there too that will help fuel your metabolism and give you the energy and satisfaction you need throughout the day. This will be coming to you through an email after the workshop today, so make sure to be on the lookout for that as well. And also, if you stick with me until the end and decide to work with me, if you aren't already on this nutrition journey, I will give you the opportunity to get your hands on an extremely exclusive bonus, and I'll have more details on that at the end of the workshop. So make sure to stay till the end. Like I said, this is going to be an interactive workshop. So this first thing that we're going to do is something that we're not going to do the whole thing, but I do want to walk you through it. So you could even flip over like a page in your workbook or just grab a piece of paper real quick. Pull up a thing on your notes if you have like your iPhone handy or something like that. But we're going to do a quick activity that's going to help you regulate your metabolism and get it back in control. It's called the Freedom Fueled Activity. It will take about 10 minutes. We're not going to do it all right now, but when you go back through and do it, it should take like 10 minutes tops. But it's a really valuable activity. So, what I want you to do, have that sheet of paper handy. Okay. So I want you to make a graph on it, and you're going to create 5 columns at the top, and then like for the first 3 quarters of the page, and then on the bottom fourth of the page, leave a little bit of space. And then you can label those columns meal, protein, carb, fat, and fiber. And then the bottom quarter of the page, you'll label recall. And then create 4 rows. And then on those, label them BLDS. And that's going to stand for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. And then what you're going to do, so that's all that we're going to do today, and I'll just walk you through the rest of it. But what you can do on your own is you can set a timer for 5 minutes max and write down everything that you typically eat in a day, or you can do the last 24 hours. And so you write it all down at the bottom of the paper, which would be the recall section. So for this person, I wrote down everything that they had had, and they would have had tomato soup, chips, chicken quesadilla, cereal, yogurt, and some trail mix. So I wrote everything that they had. And then what you do is you spend the next couple minutes taking everything from the recall section and putting it in the appropriate category. If you have to guess on some things, like you're like, I'm not really sure if this is a protein or carb or fat, um, that packet that you'll get in an email is great for helping you kind of categorize which foods fall into which column. But this person, you can see, okay, they had a protein and a carb for breakfast. They had a carb and a fat for lunch. Dinner, they did pretty good. They had a protein, carb, and fat. And then, I mean, depending on which type of tortillas they used in their quesadilla, they could have had a good amount of fiber as well. And then they had chips, so a carb for their snack. So as you can see, looking at their chart, there are some blanks in their columns for every meal and snack. The goal is in order to fuel your metabolism and make sure that you're giving your body the things that it needs and that it likes so that it can boost your metabolism, you want to try to fill in every single column at every meal. For snacks, if you could fill in, I mean, two to three, that would be the goal. But yeah, this is the way that your body likes to be fueled. It doesn't like to have gaps in it. It makes it feel like, oh, I don't have enough fuel, or it's lopsided. So it either just stores it or it doesn't feel like it can burn at a faster pace. So you definitely want to make sure that you are trying to hit every one of those columns and two to three for snacks. And so if you notice, like, oh, I have some gaps in mine when you go back through your chart, um, come up with ways like that you could have filled it in. Like this person could have added some peanut butter and berries at breakfast. They would have filled in all of their columns. It's easy to skip columns if you're not thinking about it, but it's also pretty easy to add them in and get them if you just have a little bit of forethought and a little bit of planning and awareness. So once you fill in all of those columns and make your days match that framework, you will have just created a balanced day and you will be on the fast track for metabolism support. So go take some time to do that after today. I'm not exactly sure why you're here today, but I can bet that I could make a pretty educated guess. So, reason number one that you might be here today could be that you're just nutrition curious. Maybe you're here because you're mentally drained and you're physically fatigued. Or you could be here because you're confused and you're frustrated. Whichever the reason, maybe you're one, two, three, or combination of them, like maybe you're one and two. I'm curious if changing the way that I eat and relate to food could better my life and help me live a fuller life. Maybe you're mentally drained from not knowing how to eat and physically fatigued from misunderstanding your body's cues. Or maybe you're confused and frustrated after years of dieting and you want to be done with yo-yo diets. Go ahead and just shout out which one or combination of ones would you say, like, if I had to pick one right now, I'd say I'm this. One, two, or three.
Probably all three for me.
Yeah, fair. I think a lot of people are a combination or all of them. Yeah.
But yes, I think all three very much apply in some way.
Yeah. Well, whatever that motivation is that brought you here today, I'm just going to say you're in the right place. And I fully support you. So glad that you are here. I did want to just give a little bit of my background. For me, I like kind of knowing a little bit about whoever I'm listening to. So personally, I live in Coeur d'Alene with my husband. That's him in the middle, and my little guy. That's Jameson. He's 3 now, but I swear he's a lot smarter than me. And at one point in my life, I really struggled with knowing what to eat and feeling confident in how to fuel my body. So that led me on a professional journey of pursuing a career in dietetics. And it's been an incredible journey in the nutrition world. Overall, I've been in the professional nutrition world for 9 years, and I've served in a combination of different roles throughout that time. I've done clinical, like inpatient. I've done community-based classes. Now I'm outpatient, but a variety of different places I've worked. I've had hundreds of client success stories and continue to have a thriving private practice. Altogether, I have 6 combined degrees and certifications, which means I really value science-based research and I don't just make my recommendations based on popular diet trends. And personally, I've recovered from my own journey of a complicated food relationship. So I really know the struggles and the pains and can confidently tell you that food freedom is so worth it in the end. I'm really blessed to say that I have a 5-star rating on Google. So I practice what I preach by eating what I want freely, yet still fueling my body properly. And in 2024, I got the award presented to me of being the best dietitian in my area, which was really fun to receive. So, my question for you is, can you imagine what it would feel like to eat with confidence and significantly decrease your stress around food while gaining confidence in your body? Yes, maybe you can imagine that. Maybe you're like, not sure. Um, and then maybe just shout out like, which one do you want most? Do you want to be able to eat with confidence, decrease your stress around food, or gain body confidence?
I think confidence and body
Confidence are probably at the top of mine.
Hmm.
Um, I think any stress I have around food is mostly to do with that confidence of wanting to make sure I'm eating the right things and not knowing which ones to pick, kind of. So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
so
You kind of would take care of the stress if you had good.
right.
Yeah.
And obviously, you've heard my story and the various things I've gone through in the last 5 years. So, overall confidence with my body's pretty high on the list too. And
Yeah.
I would say with that, both confidence in just feeling good in my body, as well as a little less stress in knowing that I'm taking care of my body and I'm going to be here for a while with my kids and all of that. So, there's
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You definitely want to be healthy and be able to be around for things that
too.
matter most, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. Well, restructuring your food mindset is the single most powerful and strategic way to positively impact your long-term health while boosting your metabolism and freedom to life-changing levels. And I think that really the food mindset piece is the missing link in so many education sessions and series or programs. And so that's why I really wanted to tackle it today, along with practical steps you can take to get your metabolism back on track. So, if you're anything like me, I really like to know the plan. So, this is kind of our roadmap for the day to day. Like, if we go on a trip, I'm like, okay, when are we stopping? When can I have lunch? When are the snacks? So, this is your plan, your roadmap. So, first off, we're gonna stop and look at recognizing, like, just acknowledging that we have to realize that our metabolism and our mindset are very much linked and intertwined. Secondly, we're going to look at, okay, once I recognize that my mindset is linked to metabolic health, two, how can I then renew that mindset so I can renew my metabolism? Thirdly, we are going to talk about the practical things. How do you eat your way to metabolic health? Once you fix your emotional and mental state around food, then you can start implementing practical things for nutrition. And then lastly, it's called Walk It Out, which we're going to discuss 4 things that are often overlooked when it comes to metabolic health and how to implement them on a daily basis, like how to walk it out daily. And then lastly, there'll be some time for a Q&A. I really find it valuable just to hear what's going on through your guys' heads. And so we'll have some Q&A. So if you have a question that pops up that you don't feel like is like maybe a little too complicated to ask during the presentation, save it for the end, and we'll definitely leave some time to go over that. Okay, number one. So diets, they are basically the best metabolic messer-uppers that there are out there. So in simplicity, just ditch them. In order to increase your metabolism, you have to understand that diets are really not great for metabolic health, and we're going to take a look at why. Overall, excessive dieting wrecks your metabolism, and also dieting mentality is very popular in our culture, and it's very harmful as well. We'll define dieting mentality today as internal or external motivators that encourage restrictive or disordered eating in your life. Looking at some stats, just how prevalent poor food and body relationships are in our culture. 50% of girls use unhealthy weight control behaviors. Chronic dieters are 12 times more likely to binge than those that don't diet. Low-calorie diets double the enzymes that make and store fat in the body. And 98% of American women are not as thin as fashion models. I bring these up just to show that you're definitely not alone if you feel like you've struggled with any of these points. Society likes to act like most people have it all together when it comes to weight and diets, and some people are on the outskirts, but it's actually the other way around. So, all right, let's take a look at what is happening in the body. Like, why are diets bad for metabolic health? So, basically, as just a starting ground, your body is wired for survival. So this means that it's going to do anything it can to help you survive. So when restriction begins, whether it's physical or mental, physical would be, you've gone on a crazy diet and you've decreased your intake significantly so that you can't support a healthy lifestyle anymore. Or mentally, you have that mindset of restriction where, like, shouldn't be eating this, or this is bad, or I'm planning on going on a diet. That is either one of those are perceived as stress in the body. And so, in order, your body thinks, ooh, stress. Oh no, is there survival at stake? Like, is there a famine? What's happening? It then has a set of biological processes that it sets in motion to try to help you survive. So, fight or flight is initiated in your nervous system, which has a lot of different things that it triggers. So, first off, it slows your digestion, it slows your metabolism, not our goal. It increases your blood sugar, trying to give you some energy. It releases stored energy for fat, but if you're not actually using that energy, it just increases your blood cholesterol. And then it also increases your stress hormones like cortisol, which secondarily increases your appetite. So these are all things your body's trying to do to protect you and help you fight. But if you continue to restrict and your body is never able to achieve the other side of this, rest and digest, then basically you just remain in fight or flight. And this then leads to increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, hyperglycemia, which is high blood sugar, hyperlipidemia, high cholesterol. And then if chronic inflammation is never resolved, then that can lead to all the things we don't want. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, kidney disease, IBD, and other diseases as well. So, in order to avoid chronic inflammation, you must reframe your brain and call out dieting culture for really what it is, which is a terrible setup for long-term health. You go on a diet trying to probably achieve some sort of health. And if we follow it down the line, it's like that doesn't actually lead me where I want to go. Research shows that 30 to 50% of people with eating disorders, they suffer from a major depressive disorder. And 65% of people with binge eating disorder are also diagnosed with anxiety disorder, which I think is more evidence to show that, people they can still hate their bodies and be very unhappy, even though on the outside, people might be praising them for the way that they interact with food. So based on these stats and just seeing these processes, what's happening behind the scenes, it's pretty clear that conforming to diet culture is not the answer. Another view of what happens to our metabolism when we go on a diet is represented in these pictures here, and I'll kind of walk you through them. So essentially, what this A portion of the picture is showing is that we all have these different pressures that are affecting our weight. So everything kind of hinges on our genetics. We can't change that. We're born with it. It's our body shape, or maybe we're predisposed to high cholesterol. And then we have these things like our behavior or our environment that pull us in certain directions, and then homeostasis as well. So that's our body. That's like we were talking about on the last slide. It's our body's trying to really keep us surviving, and it tries to keep things in balance. That's our internal balance. So what happens is, oh, and then this orange yellow arrow here is this is a representation of what our weight is doing. So let's say that, our behavior and our environment kind of slide down a little bit and causes our weight to increase. So then we have this overall increase in our baseline weight. Okay. So we're like, dang it, I don't want to be this way. I'm unhappy. So we say, I need to go on a diet. What happens then is our metabolism adapts to dieting. But what it does is our metabolism decreases. Our body's like, famine, not enough energy to sustain life. So we need to decrease our metabolism and make it as slow as possible to try to squeeze all the nutrients out of what is being provided for us. And I mean, our weight goes down as well, a lot of times in that process. So then you're like, oh, okay, cool. You don't realize your metabolism is slowed at that point. But then over time, you can't sustain a crazy diet, so you go off of it, or your exercise program is extremely intense and not sustainable. And what happens? Well, you still have a slowed metabolism, so your weight skyrockets because you're left with a slowed metabolism after too restrictive of dieting. So again, not what we are aiming for. We think the diet's going to do one thing, but it does a lot in the background that we don't always realize is happening and at play. And then a lot of times you feel like, wow, I'm a failure. Like that was what's wrong with me? But it's really not you. It's first of all, just the terrible setup that diets do. And then second of all, your body's like trying to help, but it just overcorrects sometimes. All right, let's take a look at some case studies. All these case studies are real people who've come to me in my practice and we've worked together. Their names are either here or not here, or they've been changed for privacy. So, first of all, let's look at a busy mom who had come to me. She was in her 40s, and the problem that she came to me with was that she had been on crash diets since she could remember. So she was probably that third person that we were talking about. She was just wanting to be done with the yo-yo diet. She was pretty sick of them. And her symptoms were she was not eating until afternoon. She would eat a light lunch, but she would just find herself scrounging for candy or things in the break room at work. And then when she would come home, she would binge after dinner, and she felt like she had a lot of emotional eating at play. So, what we did in working together was add breakfast. We increased her plant protein, and then we used the hunger satiety or fullness scale to help her gauge what she was actually feeling internally in regards to hunger and fullness. And what she had to say was, each time we meet, food has less and less power over me. And after working together, she was no longer eating after dinner. She lost 10 pounds in a month. Her blood pressure dropped, and she found herself satisfied with half the amount of dessert than she used to be. And she mentioned that she was actually ordering what she wanted when she was going out to restaurants rather than like trying to order what she felt she should have ordered, but then just coming home and binging on the cookies or whatever because she wasn't satisfied after what she had ordered at a meal. So, this number one step trying to acknowledge the link between metabolism and mindset, this is where you want to focus. If you've roller coaster dieted the majority of your adult years, if you would describe your thoughts around food as complicated, or if you are anxious, if you are not on a restrictive diet. So if you're like, check, 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 this is a great place to start. This just simply acknowledging, like, okay, I got to get past this notion that I have to diet in order to be healthy. Deleting that from your mentality is a perfect place to start to help moving towards your metabolic health. With that, though, whenever we talk about ditching dieting mentality, it can be a pretty scary thing to part with, especially if it's been what's keeping you feeling safe for a long time, or maybe it's just what you've always done or what you've always known. So, thinking about that, if you are like, yeah, this is easier said than done, what would you say is holding you back when I talk about letting go of dieting rules and dieting lifestyle? Would you say, maybe things will just never change for me. Or if I let go of dieting, I'd probably get a lot fatter. Or maybe you think that people will judge you and think like, what's going on? She's not on a diet. Has she given up? Or maybe yeah, same thing. They just thought like, wow, she is off the deep end. So no matter which one of these you relate with, you're not alone. Like I said, remember those statistics. Everybody, or a lot of people, majority of Americans have something that is holding them back. No matter what that is that's holding you back, though, step two can help you move towards better metabolic health. So we have to renew our mindset. How do we do that? Well, first, let's take a look again. I just like to kind of show you and debunk some of the lies around dieting and restrictive eating. So this diagram is going to show you three separate areas that dieting kind of fakes you out, I guess you could say. So let's say that I decided to go on a diet and I ignore my hunger cues and I skip meals, especially breakfast and lunch. What happens? Well, that means that my ghrelin, which is my hunger hormone, it increases because your body's like, what is happening? They're not getting the signal that we're hungry, so increase the hunger hormone. Well, then you get really hungry. Then, when you do allow yourself to eat, you usually eat really fast because you're ravenous. And a little thing about going too long without meals, that cortisol that we were talking about, the stress hormone, it also makes you crave richer foods because it gives you a lot of energy at once. So your body's like, increase hunger, crave more rich foods. And then that usually leads to binging, cravings, and guilt and shame subsequently. Okay, let's look at maybe I live in a state of chronic low level stress about weight and food. So I'm just always thinking about it. It's weighing heavily on me. Well, just that stress, that mental stress, that will also increase my cortisol and insulin, which affect my appetite. They increase, like we just talked about that. They increase our appetite, they increase cravings. But this is saying just that mental stress can also lead to basically the same results. Then maybe, okay, I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to restrict and diet, but this just leaves me thinking about food more. Like it's always on my mind. I'm starting to obsess over it. So then usually what happens is, well, I overeat when I actually say, okay, like I'm gonna have this. Maybe it's a cheat meal or something like that. Okay, you overeat on it because you've told yourself you can't have it, shouldn't have it, it's restricted. Then you get in the all or nothing mentality where it's like, I'm either going to be obsessive about dieting or I'm just not going to think about food at all and just do whatever. This basically leads to continued binging and feeling out of control around food because you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. You're never just on a level, moderate playing field with food. So really, when we look at it, like if we follow the patterns, the behavioral patterns down the line here, we see they all lead to the same place, right? They all lead to restriction. Sorry, setting the stage for binging, cravings, guilt, and shame, which again, we know none of those help our metabolic health. They are the things that decrease our metabolic health. So basically, in order to change your mindset, you have to realize that the ways of dieting really don't help. Play out the story and see where it leads you. So let's talk about how to stop just demolishing your metabolic health through your mindset. So, things we need to stop doing. Number one, daily weigh-ins. Now, this is a one that's a big contention for a lot of people because they're like, wow, how am I going to know whether I'm like on the right track or not? I'm not saying you can never weigh yourself, but time and time again, what I have found personally is that daily weigh-ins give you an emotional roller coaster. So if you're up, you feel great, but I mean, if you're down, sorry, if you're down, you feel great, but if you're up on the scale, your day's ruined. You feel like just that all or nothing, like forget it, this isn't working, I'm not going to do it anymore. So I would say instead zoom out to the big picture and weigh once a week or once every 2 weeks. So you still get a trend where we like to see trends, but we don't need the every single change that happens. Most people fluctuate 5 to 7 pounds on any given day. So it can really be discouraging if you're trying your hardest. And it's also just not a good picture. So of what's actually going on. So, yeah, you can also have an accountability partner, have somebody weigh you and they just tell you like, oh, you're trending up or you're trending down. And that can be helpful too, where you're not having to be the person that's seeing those tiny little ticks in the numbers that can just stress you out. Remember, we don't want to be stressed out. That's not helpful for metabolic health. Number two, in order to increase your metabolic health, you have to stop skipping meals. So, the more ravenous you become, the harder it is to stop at a comfortable level of fullness. When your body is sure that more food is coming, it gives it permission to turn the food that you're giving it into energy or to burn it to increase that metabolism. So, if you remember back to that seesaw photo where we were looking at what diets do to our weight, when we lower our intake, we trigger that famine response, slow digestion, slow metabolism. So, of course, you don't want to overeat, but you really don't want to undereat. You want to fuel just perfectly in order to make your metabolism as happy as possible. Number three, stop exercising solely for the calorie burn. When you tell yourself you have to do exercise, or when you tell yourself you have to do the exercise that you hate most because you think it's going to burn the most calories, you're probably not going to do it. Or when you say, okay, exercise only counts if I do it for 60 minutes a day, you'll probably do it less frequently. So when it comes to exercise, you need to engage with it, yes, but you need to engage with it in a way that you'll be consistent. Consistency is the goal for your metabolic health. So definitely incorporate strength training and cardio, a mix of the two, but don't burn yourself out on cardio because you think that it burns the most calories. Actually, strength training is really important for metabolic health because it spurs muscle growth. More muscle we have, the higher metabolic rate we have at rest. So, also listen to your body and incorporate days of rest to prevent injury. If you get injured, you're really not going to be consistent in your exercise. So make sure that you're not just going from 0 to 100. Number four, stop following rules to make yourself feel safe around food. The more rules you set up around food, the more you set yourself up for failure. Because, I mean, you might think that food rules are making you feel safe, but really they're setting you up for a binge and decreasing your quality of life. So, a great place to start if you feel like you have a lot of food rules is just simply like, what are my food rules? Sometimes they're subconscious, we don't even realize that they're there. And then once you figure out what they are, you can say, okay, like where did they come from? Was it a reliable source or was it something I just saw in an ad or a random social media person? And then asking yourself, are they helpful? Like when I play it out in the long run, all the way through, what happens, a couple hours or the next day if I follow these food rules and is it helping me? And if you find that the answer is no, these are actually sabotaging me, then your next question is, how can I break these rules? How do I stop letting them rule my life? Overall, you have to change your mindset before you can change your metabolism. Now, I have a question for you. Just something to think on. How will your life look when you have truly stopped dieting for good? For this stay-at-home mom who was in her 30s who came to me, she was gaining weight and she had a lot of body dysmorphia. So what we did was we increased her protein, we stocked her pantry with options. Um, we also did a lot of intuitive eating. We actually went through the entire intuitive eating framework, and I didn't put it on air. But that was the main intervention that we did for her. And this was her testimony, and I'm not gonna read it all, but basically she said this isn't a diet, this isn't a quick fix. This is a lifestyle and mindset change. And she said, how have you eating? The shame and guilt of it has never been in a healthier place. This was actually a testimony from her that was a year after working with me. So quite a bit of time had passed from working with me, which is good news because it means that she was able to sustain it. It wasn't just oh, that was nice while I was doing it, but now I'm on to the next thing. Okay, step 3. How do we eat for metabolic health? Well, to fix your metabolic health, you have to fuel consistently throughout the day. Bottom line, first place to start. Well, how do you do that? There are a couple different options. You can either do 3 meals a day, that's it, or you can do 3 meals and 1 to 3 snacks. But basically, overall, stop skipping breakfast. That's not an option. Going all day without eating and not eating till 1 p.m. is no bueno for metabolic health. There's a lot of research out there that proves that having an earlier eating window is much more beneficial to metabolic health than having a later eating window. If you want the details of some of those research articles, I do have a blog post. Just put something in the chat and I can send you those articles. So a lot of people do it because they think they're being good. Oh, I'm not eating in the morning, but then it just catches up to you and it's not a good plan. So the beauty in nutrition is that there's not a one size fits all model. The important thing is that you plan and that you're confident in which pattern feels better for you, and your energy needs and to sustain your energy levels. So you might be thinking, well, how do I know which one is best for me? Do I need snacks? Do I not need snacks? So, only meals might be best for you if you don't find yourself thinking about food in between meals. When it is time to eat, you're easily able to stop at a comfortable level of fullness. And or maybe you have low physical activity, so you're just not needing the extra nutrients. I would say if you pick this model, you need to ensure that you are eating still to meet your needs. So, a cheese stick and an apple does not suffice as a meal if you're only eating 3 of those per day. So, your meals need to be sustainable in order to meet your needs if you're not going to do snacks. Adding snacks in might be best for you if you are constantly thinking about food in between meals, or when it's time to eat, you're ravenous and then you end up binging while you're waiting for your food. You're eating the chips and the salsa while the chicken's cooking, or you're just snacking all the way through. If you're really physically active, you likely need some snacks to sustain your energy. So, which pattern is best for you right now? Is it number 1, it's meals alone, or number 2, based on those descriptions that I gave, do you think you could benefit from some snacks? You can always change your mind later, but go with your gut, based on those descriptions. So, write that down in your workbook, like I'm a 1 or I'm a 2, so you know what you need. Okay, let's chat about what do you need at each meal? So this is kind of a review of that chart that we gave a little preview to earlier. But these are the components that should be in your meals. So number one, gotta have protein every time, especially if we're talking about metabolic health. Like I said, builds your muscles, and we like muscles for metabolic health. It increases your resting metabolic rate. So it should be about the size of that circle on the hand, so a little bit above the first knuckle. Trying to shoot for lean proteins is great, but whatever protein you like will do. Um, Number two, you need to have some type of carbohydrates. They are your body's main fuel source, so we're not going to be skimping on carbohydrates. We do want them. About a cupped hand is a good portion to start with. If you have certain um, medical conditions, this might vary for you. So this is kind of a general overview, but unless you have something specifically going on, this should be a good portion. And then fat, we want to get some sort of healthy fat, nuts, seeds, avocado, oils. You can have 1 to 2 about the size of your thumb. They're a little bit more dense than protein and carb. And then you want to have some type of fiber as well. Doesn't have to be a salad. It can be in a smoothie or in a casserole or stir fry, something like that. But you want about half your plate or 1 to 2 hand fistfuls. And then you do want to incorporate fun foods regularly. You don't need to have them at every meal, but making sure that you're not restricting them and that they're just like in a regular, natural rotation into your diet can help them not feel off limits, and then you're not setting yourself up for a binge. Let's take a look at another case study. So I had an active mid-30-year-old come to me. She was a business owner, really busy with her business, always on the go, traveling, doing lots of stuff. She came to me with constant cravings and feeling like she was uncontrollably hungry. So, what we did is we added protein to her diet, snacks to her diet, and made sure that she actually had some foods available in her pantry because she felt like she wouldn't have anything when she was hungry. Notice that, but a lot of these case studies, I'm always adding things to their diet. It's not like what can we take away, it's what can we add to your diet. And her testimony was, now I feel full and satisfied from what I eat. Cravings for junk food have decreased significantly, and I haven't tracked a calorie in months. I've maintained, if not lost weight, and I'm so much happier and more free around food. So helpful, and can't recommend Makai enough. Spend some time with her. It's worth it. So this is just to show that when you're properly fueled, your cravings actually go down. They're not even a problem anymore. Usually somebody's craving something because they're not getting the right nutrients in their meals or snacks. All right, on to step 4, walk it out. So these are 4 additional and foundational pillars to help you support your metabolism that you have to get under control if you want to have good metabolic health. We're not going to go and dive into extreme detail on every one of them, but you do want to have these on your radar. You want them to be aligned in your life in order to successfully increase your metabolism. So those pillars are movement, stress, gut microbiome, and sleep. We're going to hone in on gut microbiome since this is a nutrition talk. Overall, there are 40 trillion microbes living in your gut, which all need different types of plant food specifically in order to flourish. Each type of bacteria, or those microbes, perform a different job, and each strain likes a different type of plant food. So basically, if you think about that, okay, there's 40 trillion of them. They all have different jobs, need different types of plants. You want to diversify your plant foods in order to feed your gut bacteria. The more diverse your gut bacteria is, the more skills they have to do. And some of those things that we benefit from would be better immunity, resilience to infection, strengthening your gut barrier, which prevents a lot of different diseases. We have a better ability to produce vitamins and regulate our hormones, which can definitely affect our metabolism. We're better able to communicate with our brain, gut-brain connection, and it helps balance blood sugar, lower blood fat, and prevent diseases. So, in order to diversify your plant intake and help proliferate those gut microbiome or microbes, the recommendation is to try to consume 30 different plants per week. Okay, so you're like, what does that mean? Well, it's called the Super Six. So there are six different categories of things that would count towards those plants. So vegetables would be one, fruits would be another, whole grains, legumes, which are just beans and pulses. Five, category five is nuts and seeds, and then herbs and spices count as well. So each plant that you consume, it counts as 1 point towards that 30. And then herbs and spices, they count as a quarter of a point. So if I made tacos and I had garlic, cumin, chili powder, oregano, all four of those would give me 1 point. Bottom line, trying, if you're like, wow, that's so confusing, just bottom line, try to shoot for 25 grams of fiber per day. That will you'll likely be diversifying your fiber and you'll be able to get a good amount in order to help sustain your microbiome. And in order to do this, in order to feed your gut, you got to stop eliminating your carbs. So don't be afraid of carbohydrates. They're actually really good for your overall health, as long as you're choosing high quality ones. And if you're choosing high fiber ones, they're going to be high quality. Consistency, just as an overarching principle to help you get these pillars in order, you have to be consistent. It's the unicorn of metabolic health. Number one thing to remember. So this is a slide that shows different ways you can implement those four pillars into your life. They're very doable. You can totally do it. What I would suggest is to choose one or two of these things to try to say, like, this is what I'm going to do to help try to increase and support my metabolism. So you can try a new form of movement, you can increase your plant intake or prebiotics, which are basically the same. You can do 5 to 10 minutes of meditation, stop scrolling at bedtime to get better sleep, schedule in some self-care, increase your resistance training, or you can go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Try to help your sleep. So pick one. This is what I'm going to do. And then you can work through them all as you tackle each one. Okay. Okay. I know you might be thinking, well, in order to do any of those, my life needs to slow down because I cannot implement one of those right now. And I just like to say, if they can do it, so can you. These are some more testimonies of people that I've worked with. In 2022, I had a very busy student come to me with an eating disorder. She was working, a straight A student, and very busy. So, if anything, she didn't have time to think about her health, but she made room for it. And her mom, this was a testimony from her mom. It says she created a healthy relationship with how to care for her body. And she said, if you're seeking to create a new and healthy relationship around food, gotta check Micaiah out. This was a gal who was a blooming practitioner. She had just started her own business, was working really crazy hours, had a lot on her plate. She was frustrated because she had tried intuitive eating, but she felt like it kind of backfired on her. But by the end of working with me, she traded her frustration for freedom. She learned how to love her body again once she felt like she was confident in eating the exact amount of foods that she needed. So she was able to marry the intuitive eating and the proper fueling. A mom of five came to me in 2019, and it was kind of funny. Her husband was actually confused when she sat down with a tub of ice cream and then put it back after only a few spoonfuls, because in the past, she would have always just gone to the bottom of the tub. He was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, I'm just satisfied. I'm just able to put it back." And then in 2023, I had another business owner come to me and she said, I haven't thought one single time about counting a single calorie. My weight has maintained, if not lost, and my energy levels are solid. I'm so much more free as it relates to food. So, all of these people, very busy, lots of stuff going on in their lives, but they made room to just pick a few things to tackle and then build upon those. So, of those four pillars, which do you feel like is the most misaligned in your life right now? If you were to do a little uh just recall of those, their movement, stress, microbiome, and sleep. Which one needs some love?
Microbiome for sure.
Microbiome, okay. Yeah, if you're not thinking about it, it's easy not to think about. Okay. Well, what is a first step you could take in supporting that pillar tomorrow?
I think more uh fiber.
Yeah, love it. Okay. And then what is a second step you could take in supporting that pillar in the next month?
I maybe like diversifying and finding some more
Yeah.
interest, keeping the interest there and finding different plants that I could incorporate.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Yeah. More diversity, the better, because they all have different micronutrients that those microbes eat up. So that's great. Okay, so I got a question, rhetorical. Knowing what you know now, can you see yourself living freely with a healthy metabolism?
Yes.
Yay. Would you like me to hold your hand through the entire process of improving your mind so you can improve your health?
Yes, please.
In my view, you've got two choices. You can, A, number one, fix your health on your own. Maybe hunt and pick all over the web, listening to potentially qualified people, maybe not qualified people. Maybe do more damage along the way. Or number two, we can do it together. So I'm so glad you're in. If you want to do it together, I do want to just present you with an opportunity. It's called Mind Over Mirror. It's the only training of its kind that shows you exactly how to ditch destructive mindsets around food and develop confidence in your body and your food choices so that you can stop the endless game of dieting, live an abundant life, and fulfill your true calling. So this is an online program that I've created to specifically pinpoint everything that we've been talking about today. It's created it's made up of 7 modules. The first one is necessary endings and powerful beginnings. This is where we start breaking down destructive patterns and lay a new, stronger foundation based on freedom and truth. In module number 2, this is the section we dive into how to uncover your body's cues and learn how to examine to properly fuel your body throughout the day. And number 3 is the module that you take back control of your mind and ground yourself in truth when it comes to food in your body. Number 4 is No One Like You, which is a powerful module that helps you start to see yourself in a new light, in the true light of who you are. In order to do that, you need to know how important it is to value yourself. Number 5 is the module that we discover how the world around you and how your management of the world affects your eating patterns. We're always going to have stress, and that can affect us greatly. Um, and then module number 6 is packed full of practical information on how to best fuel your body as you engage in the movement your body was designed to enjoy. And the last module is module number 7, working it out, which is going to set you up for success in the real world. Life is crazy, that's a fact, but you don't have to let it affect you and derail your nutrition. So there's a huge resource of libraries in there that like pantry list and quick meal ideas to help you choose when you're on the go, like at restaurants, and prioritizing your health no matter where you are. Within Mind Over Mirror, here's what you'll put into action. You'll ditch dieting for good. You'll practice an eating pattern that satisfies your cravings and fuels your body well. You'll learn the key to stop endlessly snacking after a meal. You'll apply a revolutionary framework to help you start untangling your thoughts and take back control over food. You'll hit a perfect level of fullness every time you eat. You'll relinquish body comparison and develop a confident view of yourself without settling or giving up. You'll form the perfect pre and post food combos to maximize exercise and implement a movement plan that you'll actually do. You'll apply hidden secrets to successfully eat amidst travel and a busy schedule. So you might be like, that sounds great, but what does it cost? I know. So I want to break it down for you. So when I go to speak, my minimum fee is $90, and Mind Over Mirror has about 30 lessons of live teaching from me to help you along in your health journey. So if we added all that up, that would be about $2,700. Well, is Mind Over Mirror really worth that? If you were to ask my client from 2019, she said, I would highly recommend this nutrition program to anyone needing help with their diet because it helps you learn how to view yourself as more than what you currently weigh and delight in the process of getting healthy or maintaining health. So she would say, yeah. If I were to sell the worksheets, the exercises, and tasks that I walk you through in the program, I would sell all of those for $350. So is Mind Over Mirror worth $350? Well, my 2022 client says, Micaiah was very kind and good at her job. I often say that seeing a nutritionist was the best decision I ever made. So she would say, yeah. If we were to add up throughout the program, there's weekly Q&A sessions. If I were to charge my group rate for nutritional counseling, that would total $2,200. So is Mind Over Mirror worth that? My 2021 client would say, yeah. She said that she was able to sort through all the misinformation that she had accumulated over the years. She came to me desperate for help. But since working with me, she had dropped 18 pounds and was counting, and her weight had been stable for nearly 9 months. She said, if you're struggling, I'd highly recommend this program. With the purchase from the program, I offer a bonus pack as well that includes teaching from an expert guest speaker, bonus lessons, and a meal plan that totals over $1,000. So, well, is it worth $1,000? My 2022 client would say she helped me learn how to use truly simple tools that changed the way I thought around food and my body. It was and still pretty is mind-blowing how she was able to point out my flawed thinking and habits around food, eating, exercise, and my body to replace them with useful and healthy thinking. So she says yes. We were to add up all those different components, $2,700, $350, $2,200, $1,000, that is quite a lot. But I know that most people are on a budget. So, and I also want to make it affordable for people, and so that they can start seeing real change in their life and get lasting headway in your food relationship. So I've priced Mind Over Mirror at $1,980. This also includes any future updates I do to it. So, if in the future I change something or I add, that would be included as well in there. So instead of over $6,000, it's just under two. And if you want, you are more than welcome to enroll today. We do have a couple of different options. There's a $386 payment, totally get if you need to break it down, or you can just do a one-time payment of the 1,980. This is the web address if you're just like still wanting to know a little bit more about it. honestnutrition.com/about-2. And all the bonuses that I'm about to go over, they're all yours, no matter which way you go. So if you need to do a payment plan, you don't like miss out on something just because you have to do the payment plan. So overall, this is what's included as like a big zoomed out version. So the 7 training modules on mindset, practical eating, emotional eating, and overcoming busyness. There's weekly live trainings. Each training comes with PDF guides, recipes, meal plans, fillable exercises. There's 10-week access to a community, so it's other people that are kind of on the same track as you. There's group accountability sessions, one-on-one session with me as well, weekly Q&As. So if you have a question about what we go over during the week, you're not alone. You'll get your questions answered. And then plus all of these bonuses. If you do decide to enroll with me while we're live here, you also get this fast action bonus, which is 2 additional one-on-one counseling sessions with me. A big obstacle I see in people coming to my office is just not knowing how to eat for their specific bodies or their specific medical conditions. There's so much misinformation out there, and a lot of people just try to combine a bunch of fad diets in order to get healthy, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's more our poor media system's fault that leads them astray. But with these two one-on-one sessions, it's really great. You get the benefit of group work and having group accountability, but there's this beautiful power piece that takes place when we get to meet one-on-one. So when combined with group plus personal nutrition, you're going to be pretty much unstoppable. So this is really invaluable bonus. Okay, what you'll get inside the program, it's a step-by-step virtual hand-holding every moment of the way. You get access to all of the training videos, PDF guides, fillable worksheets, the accountability group. We have a guest speaker coming, meal plan, individual session, and Q&As. I do also find a very strong correlation between nutrition, health, and spiritual health. So there is a spiritual component to the program, but it's definitely not like if you're not a spiritual person, you don't have to be spiritual in order to be a part of the program. They're all separate and optional, but you will get access to perspective altering devotional extras. And whether you've been looking for breakthrough for years or you just didn't even know that faith could play a role in your food relationship, these devotionals are definitely for you. You'll learn what scripture has to say about food, body image, and how to approach your diet so that you can walk in an abundant life that was promised to you years ago. Again, all optional. You're not going to like be missing huge chunks if you choose to opt out of that part. So, maybe you're excited, but you're nervous about this. I bet I can guess some of the doubts that you might be facing right now. Maybe you're like, I've tried everything out there and none of them have worked for me. Well, I'd like to just say that first off, this is not another diet. This is an entirely new way to relate to food and yourself and thought patterns. But I would say that I've included specifically a bonus lesson to walk you through how to begin to enjoy all foods in moderation without binging. It takes food off, this lesson takes food off a pedestal and it will help you stop seeing your intake as black or white, like I'm on the diet or I'm off the diet. In 2024, I had a gal that was her worry, but she came to me desperate. She had really limited intake. She just couldn't give up the dieting piece. She had a lot of food noise, lots of binge eating tendencies because of that diet stronghold. And she said, one thing I have noticed about myself since seeing you is I have not focused once on if I'm losing enough weight, am I skinny enough? I just try to be healthy as much as possible. And by the way, she had lost 18 pounds since I first started working with her. So pretty cool. Maybe you're thinking, what if I'm ready for a holistic approach that encompasses mind, body, and spirit? I can tell that my eating is influenced by other parts of my life. Well, you will get VIP access to Deborah, who her doctoral work incorporates trauma-informed strategies with neuroscience to help her clients facilitate sustainable transformation and freedom from self-defeating patterns in their lives. And so we have her expertise joining us on how to apply mental health strategies to free your mind around food for good. This class isn't offered anywhere else. It's exclusively for Mind Over Mirror participants. So that's definitely something you don't want to miss. A lot of my top referrals to other providers, they go to clinical therapists like Deborah because I'm really convinced that having a therapist on board, it accelerates your nutritional journey. So she's going to be great to hear. Maybe you're thinking, what if I get stuck and I need to be able to troubleshoot with you? Well, we have 10 weeks of live Q&As, like I said. So if you're like, I don't know what to do, or this isn't making sense. How do I apply this? There's time to get your questions answered. Maybe you're thinking, what if I've never succeeded in the past because I've relied on convenience foods and I have no time to prep food? Well, I've included 5 live cooking classes as well with me where you can have dedicated time, like, okay, this is my meal prep time. There's accountability. And there'll also be, specific recipes. They'll help with a shopping list for you that you'll get beforehand. So if maybe you're thinking like, I don't even know how to cook, like this is good because I'll help walk you through everything that you need to know in order to make some balanced meals. Maybe you're thinking, what if I know I'll get frustrated without examples and meals and recipes? Well, we got a 2-week meal plan for you, which is actually far beyond just a meal plan. It has example days, shopping lists, brand suggestions, specific pre and post workout, food combos, and lots of other goodies in there for you. So there's definitely practical help in that front as well. This is just a reminder of the options, and if that website's kind of long, if you didn't have time to write that down, there it is again. So again, just a review of the bonuses. Bonus number 3 is that extra couple individualized sessions that happens if you choose to join today. Okay. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm not sure why you showed up here today, but I can bet that, there are a couple of different reasons why you showed up. Number one, you might feel stuck, tried every diet out there, and you've been through the ringer and failed attempts at improving your health. Maybe you're tired, you're exhausted from too much information of diets past haunting you when you try to make a food choice, and you just want the noise to stop. Or maybe you're intrigued by the idea that you can simplify your eating patterns so you can focus on what matters most. But no matter what that reason is, you're here and you've stayed till the end. So this is obviously something that you want. And I would encourage you to just take the leap of faith and invest if it's the right time for you to do so. I do like to mention I offer a 14-day risk-free guarantee. I don't want any tire kickers and I don't want you to be 1 foot in, but I get that sometimes, it's just not what you thought it was. So if you give it a try, I ask that you show me the results or the lack of results within 14 days of enrolling. If you're not satisfied, you show me like I've done all the worksheets, I've done what you've asked me to do, I've stayed up, I've completed the homework, and it's still not what I thought it was. I will gladly give you a refund. All right. You might have some still lingering doubts, like maybe you're like, I want to fix my metabolism and my metabolic health, but I don't want another restrictive eating plan that is going to leave me high and dry. And I just say the beauty of mind over mirror is that it marries the pivotal aspects of you that all other health plans they really forget to address. So it takes your mental, your physical, your spiritual health and it wraps them into one, giving you a transformative food relationship. Maybe you're like, well, I don't have the time to focus on a full course right now. You get limited access to all the PDFs and all the lessons. So if you fall behind, like the course is taught live, but you have access to it. So if you do end up falling behind, you can always go back and work through it, and you won't be missing out on huge chunks of it. You can self-pace it if you want to. Maybe the thought of starting something on your own is kind of scary to you. Well, don't worry. I got you covered. The accountability with Mind Over Mirror is one of the best parts. We do weekly Q&As. You have individual touch points. There's a private members community. So you can encourage one another on your health journey. You're not alone. Maybe you're thinking, I'm not sure my mindset around food and body could really ever change. This is a whole section that we have dedicated to specific strategies to undo years worth of dieting and mentality inside the portal. And then we also don't forget about Deborah, the mental health guest speaker that we have to touch on this as well. Jackie was one of my clients from 2024 who felt like she couldn't eat in public and she was starving herself from a list of foods. But then she ended up being able to joyfully eat at restaurants and enjoying all foods in moderation. Maybe you're thinking, I feel like I'll binge like crazy and gain weight if I choose to give up dieting for good. This is inside the portal of Mind Over Mirror, and we focus very much on mental aspects, but that doesn't mean that we just throw away the physical aspects of health. We spend an entire section on how to fuel your body well, how to plan a plate, other amazing tips and example days and meal ideas and recipes and best foods to buy at Costco. So there's section on physical activity as well. So we don't swing to one side only to focus on the mental piece of your health. You know, you are a whole human being, so we try to treat you as that way inside the program. Okay, these are your options again, just as a reminder. And I would love to open it up for questions if you have any questions or things, even from earlier that you're like, back when you were talking about the metabolism and stuff, I just had a question or a comment. Love to answer that now.
I have any questions, but I did write something down.
Like you were talking about, now I can't find it because I put my sheets all out of order.
So
Yeah, like just kind of you were talking about like stressing over picking foods and things like that. And